Praise be to Jesus. Well, hello everyone. It's Monday morning here. The first thing I'd like to say is when people are directing a comment at me in the comment section, they refer to me as the Catholic News Network. And I just want to tell you, my name is Charles. So if you happen to remember that for whoever's, will listen to this particular video, you could just call me by my name. I think that's more appropriate. Well, I want to talk a little bit about one of the items I had just read into the daily news briefs, and something occurred to me that I want to share with you. I'm going to read this particular news brief. After the release last night of an explosive letter by the Vatican's former nuncio to the United States, a Texas bishop said he found the allegations against the Pope and other senior cardinals to be credible and called for a thorough investigation. Bishop Joseph E. Strickland of Tyler, Texas, told priests to, quote, include this notice in the masses on August 26 and post it on their websites and other social media immediately. So if you think about this, here is a bishop that I've never heard of, and I'm sure there are other ones, but I mean, he's certainly not one of the big shot bishops in the United States. Um, but yet he wants to bring all this forward. All right, he wants to make his parishioners in the diocese aware of what's going on, and he's saying he found the allegations against Pope Francis and other senior cardinals to be credible. Now, that's really a strong statement for someone who we have just heard from for the first time. Like I said, I've never heard of this bishop. So, you have to realize here that he probably knows something. All right, this bishop must have some information over some period of time to where he's willing to come out in a public way and say these are credible. I want this read at the masses. I want it on websites and social media immediately. Now, what occurred to me is that I just really think that all the bishops in the United States, at one time or another have heard all about this. And I just think a lot of them are just committing a sin of omission. The fact that they never stepped up in the past to bring this to the public's attention. So I find this, you know, this bothers me because I think there are a lot of these bishops who are just being complicit by their silence. And, not only is that a sin, but, how can you trust these people? I just, if you look at the name of the video, I just can't imagine how anyone can trust anyone in the Catholic clergy any longer. Now, if you happen to know a priest very well, then perhaps there are good priests, and I don't really just to me a good cardinal or bishop would have stepped forward years ago and said something about this. It just goes to show you how concerned they are about not rocking the boat and putting their own positions in jeopardy. There's fear involved there, and it's it's all very human. Um, I want to tell you also about an experience I had with the parish that I belong to. A woman that I happen to know, who lives down the street from me, told me that the pastor, supported communion for the remarried and for um, same-sex couples. And I told you in another video that I live along the edge of something called Boys Town in Chicago. And this particular parish, there are gay and lesbian people who go there. Um, and so she told me this, and I wrote to the pastor. I wrote him an email, and I said, I've been told that because I don't really go to that church anymore. All right. So I wanted to know whether I should even belong to this parish any longer. And so I wrote to him, and he writes back and he says, all he said was, "That's not my position. Who told you that?" You know, he wanted to know the name of the person who told me that. He didn't really state his position. So I think a lot of, just based on this, I just wrote again to the office and told them to take me off of I don't belong to that parish any longer. I'll never go there again. Um, it just really points out, I think, the sort of like line that probably all the clergy or most of the clergy anyway, try to walk. Just to they don't want to upset the apple cart. They don't want to become the focus of any kind of media attention. And all this is all, of course, very human. But I mean, I think that's why we really like it when someone speaks up, regardless of what side they speak up. At least they're speaking up. They get past the fear, and they represent the side. Their opinion represents the side of the argument that they believe in. That the post being persecuted, or these are unproven allegations, and I happen to know this particular cardinal, and I don't believe what they're saying about him or whatever. And of course, it's obvious that there's a lot of lying going on also, which so who do you really trust? Well, I've gotten to the point where I don't really know any priests that well personally that I've ever really spoken to them, except just what I mentioned through an email. But, if you happen to know a priest and know him really well, then that's someone you could trust. If time and time again they speak from the pulpit, about either being, sort of a modern sort of Pope Francis following type of priest, or if that's what you agree with, then you know what you got. You know your pastor. All right. Um, so my own experience is that the priests I listen to don't even talk about any of this. To them, it's they never even bring it up in a homily, or they just don't deal with it at all. They make believe that none of this is really going on. So I don't know. I just think it's um, you wonder what you can believe from the media anymore. Um, are things getting blown out of proportion? See, there's a lot of emotion involved here, and I think all this is beginning to come to a head. And with all this emotion and strong feelings involved here, things can get distorted. So this is going to be really very difficult. It's obvious that I don't know on this channel, but just in general, the vast majority of people, like what Pope Francis is doing, which is really the wrong reason for, for supporting someone People need to be educated in what the truth of the Catholic Church is, and that represents Christ and Christ's teachings and who Christ is. People need to support that if they want to get to heaven. I mean, to support a human being and just really isn't the best idea. But most people do that. I think it's probably 80 or 85% of people really like Pope Francis. As if liking him has anything to do with it. It's really unfortunate how ignorant people are about what's important in their faith. I don't know. I'd like for you to think about this, and we need to keep our emotions in check here, and just see where all this goes. I have my own ideas about this, and I'm sure you do too. But God is full of surprises, and whoever thought Archbishop Vergano was going to do what he did. We'll just have to wait and see. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention here, give you a little something to think about, as if you don't have enough to think about, especially when it comes to what's going on in the church. But, there's another element there to consider. So we'll talk to you next time there's a news update, and enjoy your day or evening, and we'll talk to you next time.